So you want to frag, but you gotta play support. Well, look no further. Your prayers have been answered. In fact, you've ascended yourself if you're going to go ahead and play Jenos, the newest champion in the realm, the Ascended. As I'm sure many of you have seen, a new support champion, Paladins, will grace the realm, and he brings a huge amount of DPS, but not only that, a huge amount of setup and a devastating ultimate that can team wipe the entire enemy roster. Is this guy really a support? Jenos brings a fresh perspective to the support role that will allow players to do more for their team in a more dynamic way, also giving him a ton of unique opportunities to excel and a few opportunities to maybe fall by the wayside in comparison to the healing of other supports. So let's get this thing started, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Raynday Gaming. Notification Squad, Rainstorm, mount up. We are about to get going here and take a look at Jenos, his abilities, how he's going to use them in game, and also the potential impact of what he will bring into the realm as he releases next week. And you guys do not want to miss the last half of the video, because I'm going to introduce some ideas and talk about some things I think pros, I think even casual players often overlook when new champions come out. So Jenos the Ascended, he has a very space-like astral theme, and what's very unique about that is his weapon takes on that approach as well. Obviously, coming down from the mountaintops, descending to fight his aggressors, he needed something pretty magnificent, so he brought the Star Splitter with him. Is Jenos so powerful that he's splitting stars every time he shoots this weapon, or is he just channeling the power of the stars? Either way, it does 120 damage every 0.13 seconds at medium range. That brings your boy in at 923 DPS. That is solid. Plus, this guy can headshot. This weapon can contend in 1v1 versus damage dealers. It may not win, but if you put a player like Gara, like Cusscutie, like Bird, who are mechanically gifted, onto a champion like Jenos, they are going to be able to 1v1 you if you don't bring your A game. Whereas it does seem a bit ridiculous for a Ying or a Maldamba to charge into the front lines, even a Saris, and just start firing onto people. For Jenos, that seems completely okay with this weapon, and that gives support players a new opportunity to set the pace and tone of the fight from the beginning, rather than waiting for their teammates to do so. Although this weapon does suffer from considerable fall off long range, I don't think that's going to dissuade anybody from going ham with Jenos' Star Splitter and trying to get those pentakills like I know we all want. Jenos' right mouse button also contributes to this run and gun style, where he's able to focus on doing damage and setting up plays rather than just constantly thinking about healing, and that's because his Astral Mark, his right mouse button, applies a celestial blessing through all obstacles, mind you, and healing his teammates for 250 health every second for 10 seconds. Some of you may be asking, is this good or is this bad? Well, let's talk about it. Astral Mark contributes to one style of play that I think Jenos is going to veer towards, which is healing somebody and then forgetting about that and trying to do damage as a support. When Jenos applies the Astral Mark to a teammate, he's giving them 2500 healing over the course of 10 seconds. In a vacuum, that's 2500 healing. But of course, most people use Cauterize in this game. So with Cauterize 1, an enemy shooting at the player being healed constantly over 10 seconds would reduce that healing by 30%, meaning that it would be 1750 going into their health pool instead of 2500. In the same scenario with Cauterize 3, it would actually only grant them 250 health over the course of that 10 seconds. But of course, waiting out the 1.5 seconds returns your healing to normal. So if you have shields, if you can run around a corner, if you can just get out of line of sight, that healing will start ticking back up at its normal, very powerful and efficient rate. Essentially, this creates a dynamic where, unlike Saris, who has 3000 healing with Mortal Reach in a matter of 2-3 seconds, Jenos, on the other hand, gives you a similar amount of healing but over a longer amount of time. And it's really about how you use that time in what situation as to whether it's very effective or not. I think it's important to be said that this is going to be, in my eyes, the most contentious aspect of his kit. Whether this healing is good enough to be a solo healer is a big question mark for a lot of players. With certain loadouts and items, multiple members of your team can receive your Astral Mark at the same time. And since his heal can be applied through obstacles, it gives him not only safety of position, but ease of access to those who really need to be healed. No line of sight needs to be found. Through a wall, you see your target silhouette, press that right mouse button, and they're getting healed for an extra 2500. Moving on to one of my favorite and I think most unique aspects of Jenos' kit, the Void Grip. Void Grip is a brand new form of CC that channels the gravitational energy and lifts an enemy up into the air, dealing 150 damage every second for 2.5 seconds. If the victim manages to move while lifted, it will interrupt Void Grip. And guys, before we go any further, we have to talk about the elephant in the room here. This just looks freaking cool. This is the kill that guy button. Basically, everybody sees somebody floating in the air, isolated, cannot move, and taking damage, and they decide to shoot them as well. It should be a guaranteed kill for coordinated team teams, and if Jenos grabs the cripple legendary, it should mean that there's no opportunity for that player to counterplay. Now, since this doesn't have infinite range, that means that you just have to avoid it and be more careful in your spacing when fighting in Jenos. Also very interesting to note that if someone is moved out of Void Grip, it will cancel the action, meaning a Makoa on your team could actually hook someone out of the Void Grip and bring him to your team as well. If you're playing with 2 healers, Grover could then root them, and then when the root is over, Torvald could hyper beam them off the map. The chain CC and potential of this ability is nuts, but it's also important to note that Jenos is locked out of all of his abilities while channeling Void Grip, meaning that he can set up the play, he just can't finish it himself. Moving on from Void Grip into Jenos' F skill, it's called Stellar Wind, and this is one of my favorite animations in all of Paladins. Jenos lowers his weapon and starts to move 75% faster while increasing his jump height, lowering his fall speed, and essentially being this freaking cool looking star magician that's just flying around the map. Also, that's just my interpretation. He's probably not actually a star magician. That would be a kind of a corny job for someone who could control star power. This movement skill operates very much like Victor's Hustle, where you toggle into it and then that's all you can do until you toggle out. Because of the 75% movement speed increase, he can get himself going quite a bit and round those corners to stay out of line of sight. Because of his Astral Mark that doesn't require line of sight, this is kind of going to be a go-to plan for a lot of Jenos players that I can see going forward. Get around a corner, I'm still doing the exact same amount of healing because I could see all of my teammates keep them up and yet you can't fire at me. And if you find me, I'll do the exact same thing again. Remember, Jenos isn't losing a lot of healing potential by running away. He has a lot of time to do so because his heal lasts for 10 seconds and that's the only heal that he has. Maldamba and Saris, if they spend 10 seconds running away, that's a significant amount of healing not happening for the enemy team, and so chasing down Jenos may be more of a costly proposition than one may have hoped. This is where Jenos will shine in my opinion, using this ability to get around corners and keep his healing up, whereas most other healers could not survive and keep relevant under this pressure. In my opinion, not only do I love the look of this skill, do I love the feel of this skill, but I love the depth of this skill. I think there are going to be a lot of opportunities on maps to find those specific spots where you can jump from a certain ledge and land on a certain balcony or through a certain window and just min-maxing your approach around the map. Now we're finally here, what you all came to see. Jenos' ultimate is called Through Space and Time. Jenos' ultimate is called Through Time and Space. And wait, which one is it? Like I said, Jenos' ultimate is Through Time and Space. You lock yourself in place and gather the power of the cosmos for a second and a half, becoming CC immune. Then you unleash that energy in a long-range blast that pierces through all obstacles and deals 2400 damage. This ability goes through all obstacles and has the entire range of the map to be able to hit an opponent. Although it will not go through spawn doors and not harm enemies in their spawn room, as that has been adjusted in OB55 to count for the ability that he now has to kill anyone anywhere on the map. Couple of big points regarding this ability, however, is the CC immunity. Again, another champion being introduced with CC immunity on their ultimate gives some serious outplay potential. You know, obviously a convergence comes through from Saris, or, you know, Ashe goes in with a shoulder bash trying to knock you off a ledge and you just don't have the ability to avoid it right away. You pop into your ultimate and she just hits you and she gets a full face of 2400 damage when you fire back. Another big point for me is that he locks his direction that he's facing once he fires his ultimate for a second and a half. There's no changing of the beam, there's no adjusting to enemies' movements. You have to predict it and commit to exactly where you're going to fire it. And of course, being CC immune doesn't mean he's damage immune, so you could still kill him while he's channeling this ultimate. Although let's be fair, Jenos is probably going to be the one getting most of the kills in this scenario. Not only does the weapon have a huge RPD, meaning it's very generous in terms of the width that it will hit someone who is in the line of sight of the ability, but it's also a diabolical combo with things like Convergence or Eevee's Ice Storm, which locks players in place for a certain period of time. And 2400 health is nothing to joke about. That's one-shotting a Ying and below. And from what I've seen in my testing, this ultimate is also instantaneous, meaning there's no travel time once you actually fire the beam. So anyone, anywhere on the map within that line of the beam's travel will actually get 2400 health taken off them immediately. Wow. Looking at Jenos' legendaries, he's got a couple of different options that look very intriguing in my eyes. The Power Cosmium, the first one, the default, enemies affected by Void Grip are crippled and take an additional 150 damage per second. I mentioned this earlier in the video, but this just allows him to obviously secure the target he picks up and not allow them to move out of it so easily with their own movement skill. This is a very solid pickup that allows your Void Grip to be that much more punishing, as if lifting you in the middle of a team fight in front of all of the enemies to shoot at freely unobstructed wasn't punishing enough. His second legendary is called Luminary, and it's for his Astral Mark. You and allies who are affected by Astral Mark deal 15% more weapon damage, which is a very big deal. Part of the reason why I think this is a big deal is because his duration of Astral Mark is so long. This is a 10-second buff, ladies and gentlemen, giving Bomb King, for example, from 900 to 1035 damage per bomb that he detonates, as well as 2500 healing over the course of those 10 seconds. That's pretty good. And last but not least, Celestial Touch, which allows him to cast his Astral Mark on an ally and immediately heal them for 15% of their maximum health. The implications for this means that you're going to be able to burst heal somebody as well as give them that healing over time, which can be very beneficial for larger health pool lineups. Like if you go a double or triple tank comp, you're going to get so much more bang for your buck out of that 15%. Since Jenos has no burst healing in his kit, this does fill a bit of a void, but whether it will be better than the other two remains to be seen. So competitive, will Paladins Esports embrace Jenos with open arms, or will he be shunned like we've seen many other champions in the past? To be honest, I'm very hopeful about Jenos. I think that a lot of support players in Paladins are very gifted players, and they also want to show what they can do. Jenos provides the opportunity for healers in that role to kind of strut their stuff. I think do damage, really impact the fight more so than just tossing out a Ceres heal and hiding whenever somebody starts to aggress on them. So I am hopeful that players will want to play Jenos and try him out in different lineups and see if they can make him work. But I'm also aware that Jenos is a bit of a different look for support players and for team comps in general. But I'm also aware and wary that some pro players may decide not to pick up Jenos because he doesn't fit the mold of a support healer for the entire team. He would be more considered or used as an off support, somebody who could bring in maybe a specific team comp, counter a specific champion a little bit better than others, still provide some extra healing, but be able to not hold the weight of that entire position. Now, whether that's accurate or not, I want everyone watching right now to listen to what I have to say. I think this is important because a lot of people, before the champion comes out in live, before they even have a day with him, already start putting him into certain places of performance without really understanding. This is common in games where people jump to conclusions, but those conclusions limit what they can see in their own mind. If you were lucky enough to watch DreamHack Valencia, you'll have seen that Paladins has been turned on its head, because people who thought that they knew how to play the game were confronted with others who played it differently and succeeded. 2 healers? We only need 1. 2 frontliners? We'll take 1 as well. Oh, you guys don't want Yang? We'll take her, that's fine. Torvald's useless? Okay, we'll take him too. This is all just to say that sometimes first impressions, sometimes things you thought for a long time are not the way that you think they are. And it's important to go into new experiences with an open mind. If you think Jenos is better played as an off healer and not a main healer and can't do that role, it's fine to have that conjecture. But don't limit yourself by not trying to use him as a main healer and maybe finding out a composition that works even better than the composition you had in mind with him as a secondary healer. Give yourself the freedom to try new things, not to limit your playstyle, not to limit your loadouts, and not to limit your item choices. Since we have so many new champions coming through, I know it can be easy to try and throw somebody into a position, into a role, and just say this is what they're good at, this is what they do, on to the next one. But I think there's so much depth to be uncovered as we were shown over the last couple weeks in Valencia, and I think now, hopefully in the future of Paladins, I want to encourage everyone to start thinking outside the box and, of course, trying new things. Because in games, like in life, failing is not really failing as long as you learn something from it and use it in your next adventure. So let me know what you all think about Jenos the Ascended in the comment section below. Are you excited a support champion is finally going to be able to frag out with an assault rifle, basically? You think he's a little too strong, a little too weak? I want to know your thoughts, so again, comment below and share them with me. As always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.